Hi everyone, my name is Gregg Standridge. I'm head of the guitar department at Norman Music Institute here in Norman, Oklahoma. We're going to be doing a lesson today on strum patterns. We learned the basic 8 chord progressions, and now we're going to incorporate strumming into these progressions. Our basic strum pattern before was just 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a quarter note strum pattern. It's a real solid, easy pattern. But when you start adding other strums into these progressions, they really start sounding like tunes. Well, they are tunes, lots of tunes. So I want to first talk to you about the mechanics of strum patterns. There's a couple of basic rules that if you follow, they will help you so much. Number one, this hand is in constant motion, even when it's not really doing anything. It's always going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, and it's not changing its speed. I sometimes teach people who've learned on their own, and they come in, they're trying to play strum patterns like that, and they say, I don't have any rhythm. And it's usually not that at all. It's usually that they attach a sound with a movement. So if there's no sound, they don't move. So I'll ask you a trick question. I always do this. If any of you have ever studied with me, you know what I'm going to ask. You probably know the answer to the trick question already, but I'm going to play a strum pattern. And I would like you to count how many moves my hand makes to play this strum pattern. Here I go. I'm going to do that again just to double check. Most people tell me 5. That's not correct. There's 5 sounds there, but there are 8 moves. In our basic strum patterns in 4/4, there's always 8 moves. It doesn't matter. Look at that again. I'll count the moves for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, you know, on moves 2, 6, and 8, I didn't make a sound, but I had to move to get to my next strum. And so that's why, you know, when you see people playing guitar a lot of times, this looks like they're doing this. It's because they've got that hand motion going, but they may be playing really intricate stuff. So, hand motion is really important. In this lesson, we're going to learn 5 strum patterns. One of them we already know, if you've done the previous lesson. It's just the quarter note movement. So we're going to start with that just to review, and here's what it looks like. It's always good to count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and count out loud when you're doing these. So I count off 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and before I play, but try to do it at a very, very slow speed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'm going to repeat that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's strum pattern number 1. Now these numbers are not consistent throughout the world. This is just for this book. A lot of times they get nicknames, you know, like there's the Neil Young Stomp, and there's the one called the Universal Strum Pattern or the Folk Pattern, and so there's also the Boom Chuck. So there's a lot of nicknames that go with these. I'll try and demonstrate them as we go. Let's look at strum pattern 2. Now I'm actually going to show you this in the book here. You'll probably have it there in front of you, but this is strum pattern 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and once again we're going to make 8 moves, but we're only going to play 5 notes. It's actually the one I showed you a while ago when I was asking the trick question. So this looks like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 you play an upstroke, you just need to play 1 or 2 or 3 strings. I just played 1 there and it sounded great. There's a couple. 3. If you play all of them, you're going to get sort of a detached fan sound, and it's not very articulate, I guess is the best way to describe that. This sounds kind of rumbly, and all those notes are hitting a little late towards the end. So now you can vary that, and if you want to be louder, you can use more strings. If you want to be really more subtle, you can use, just 1 string on the up. Strum pattern number 3 uses almost all of the strums. The only place it doesn't is this and right here, right after 1 and 2. Everything else is played. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Once again, there's 8 moves, but there's 7 actual sounds. Here's what this looks like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Because we're playing an upstroke on what we call the and of 4, the very last notch in our measure, you do not slow down to start the downstroke of the next measure. It's right in there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. A lot of times people think, well, there's got to be a gap there because the end of the strum patterns are, but it's right in rhythm to the next pattern. Okay, here it is, the moment you all been waiting for. Strum pattern 4. Strum pattern 4 is often called the universal strum pattern. A lot of my friends jokingly call it the eagle strum pattern because they use it a lot. It's just used in so many songs, and it teaches us so many things about syncopation, not playing on beats that are usually, we usually play on. Like beat 3 is the thing in this. We don't play on it, and that really makes the next beat, next count, and it really makes that seem more important. I'm just going to play it from this so you can hear it. I'm going to play it fast. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2. Yeah, Creedence Clearwater Revival. The basic strum pattern in that song, as long as I remember, is that strum pattern basically. So let's take this thing apart and look at it because it's kind of tricky. The way I like to teach this strum pattern is I like to teach it in 2 pieces. I'm going to teach it the first half of this where it's 1, 2, and 3. And just let your hand hang down there for a minute so you can see that you have to make a down strum there that we don't play on. I call that a ghost strum. 1 and 2 and 3. I'm ready to play the next upstroke. I'm going to play it. I usually don't freeze down there, but just to demonstrate that's what's going to happen. Let's try that a few times. Ready? Play. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 3 and 4 and. Okay, so let's add the next part on. The next part is just up, down, up. That's all you have left. I'm going to put those 2 things together. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The big thing is that your hand is always moving through that. I want you to do that again with me, okay? We're going to do it really super slow this time. And I'm going to say the word ghost every time that my hand goes down instead of saying 3, okay? Here we go. Ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and ghost and 4, 1 and 2 and ghost and 4 and 1 and 2 and ghost and 4. Okay, that is strum pattern 4. There's a nickname for this one. Some people call it the pa pa or the waltz pattern. The big thing is it's in 3/4. And it's all just 3 notes long. But, oh, if you'll see right here, there's a bass note actually written like in real notation. And then we have our 2 strums on. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and. The bass note is just going to depend on what the chord you're playing is. Like this is a G chord and that's the lowest note we strum. So when we play this pattern it's going to be bass, strum, strum. We count it like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and. See, my hand motion stays the same, but instead of 8 moves, now I have 6 moves because I'm in 3/4. When you do this pattern, you're going to be doing this where you have to make a chord change sometimes, and you have to get to the bass note of the chord first. This is from G to C. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Going to C. But watch this. Bass note first, then the chord. If you play the bass note first, it makes it easier to get to the chord. Here's the G again, just the bass note, and then the rest of the chord. If you're going to go to D, it has an open string as the bass note. You see, I took a long time to get my hand up there to play that chord because it's not the most important thing. The bass note is the most important thing. So always let your bass note play first, then grab the rest of your chord. Here's an A minor where you just have to play an open string. F chord, there's the bass note. D is an open string. You don't have to take your hand away like that, but you just have a lot more time to get there. In fact, this strum pattern is easier to change chords with if you know that rule about it. All right, that's the waltz pattern, pa pa pattern. This is the cool thing about this. You can mix these patterns all up. In fact, that's why I just put these 5 in the book. If you know these 5 components, you can mix and match them together and come up with literally an infinite amount of strum patterns. Literally. I mean, there's no stretch at all. I want to talk to you 1 second about how to incorporate these into your chord progressions that we did in the previous lesson. I'm going to use the first chord progression, G, C, G, D as our example. We have written these quarter note slashes for this progression. We don't have to use that. We can drop any strum pattern we want in that measure. You could put a different strum pattern in every measure if you wanted to, but I just want you to use one strum pattern. I'm going to use the example of strum pattern 2, which was the down, down, up, down, down. And we're going to play that in this progression. All right, here I go. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3. Going to C. Ready, go. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. And goal would be to be able to put any of the 5 strum patterns we learned today into any of the chord progressions we learned in last week's lesson. Here is strum pattern 3 over chord progression 2. I'm going to do it a little bit faster this time. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, D, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 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 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the ghost strum pattern, strum pattern 4, the universal strum pattern, over chord progression 3, starting with the A chord. 1, 2, and ghost, and ready, play. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Going to D. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3. Back to A. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and E. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4. A. 2, and 3, and 4. All right, and finally I'm going to do the waltz pattern, the pa pa pattern, over chord progression number 4. Just watch for your bass notes on this. This is pretty easy because you get 2 open bass notes with the E chord and the A chord. They're both open bass note chords. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Going to A. Just need the A note. 1, 2, 3. 1. Back to E. Just need the E bass note. 1, 2. You don't have to take your hand away again, but I'm just showing you. Here's a B. That finger's already set. It's your pivot finger. And then you have 1 E chord at the end. Just strum the last chord 1 time. All right. So that is how you're going to try and work your chord progressions. You want to work them with all your strum patterns. Be able to play any chord progressions with any of the strum patterns we worked on today. And that's a huge step. I hope that helps you out. Once again, my name is Gregg Standridge. I'm the Director of Guitar Studies at Norman Music Institute in Norman, Oklahoma. And our number there is 405-292-8400. That's 405-292-8400. And we always do a free lesson. We do in-house lessons. We do online lessons. We always, like I say, do a free lesson. So give us a call and we'll talk to you about what we can do for you. All right, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much.